So yogis, we're going to start in the child's pose. Any child's pose you like. So if you need a bolster or a blanket underneath you, please use it, right? If you like to prop yourself up with a bolster underneath your belly, if you like to put one underneath your forehead or a block, please use it. Start to just acknowledge the sensation of the compression maybe in the hips. If you're using a chair, you could sit behind the chair and you could put your forehead on the seat of the chair. If you're in hero's pose and just hinge forward at the hips. If you're on the floor, just make sure that your knees are comfortable. If that's not comfortable for you, lie on your spine and bring your knees into your chest. Noticing the sensation maybe in the lower back. In the spine. We're going to take a couple more breaths here in your child's pose. And just notice the crease in the hips, maybe a little bit of that hip opening as we start to explore that a bit as we lift our torso up, yogis, and then start to come onto your forearms a little bit and then open your feet up, and we're going to come into a frog. You might, if you can, open your knees as well. If you want to do frog on the wall, you lie back on your spine and put your feet on the wall and bend your knees. So coming into frog, yogis, I know this is like bam, we just walked right into it. So you could put a bolster underneath your chest, opening out. So sit back towards the heels, yogis, and breathe. Try to play with the flexion and the dorsiflexion of your feet. And just start to notice the openings in the hips. Yes, this is a deep stretch. Use bolsters, use what you need to pad your knees. We're going to be here for 5 more deep breaths, yogis. Three more breaths. So when we're, kind of affronted with this really intense sensation, try not to, unless it's very painful for you, right? Crazy, get out. But if it's this discomfort, try to acknowledge it and try to figure out what it is, where it is. Take another breath, right? Take one more deep breath, yogis. And then gently bring your hands by your side and gently start to bring your toes back to touch. Bring your knees gently in towards the center again and come back into your child's pose. Whatever child's pose that was. And take a breath here, yogis. You're going to take 5 of those deep breaths. Sit back towards your heels and just breathe. And then come up onto all fours, yogis. And take your right knee forward. And we're going to cross that right knee over the left. We're going to come into shoelace or Gomukhasana. So if this pose is not possible for you, right? It's a lot of adduction, a lot of hip flexion, a lot of stuff going on here that might not be serving you, like knees can be tight. So extend the bottom leg and come into half a shoelace. You could always sit on top of a bolster, anything you need to. So in yoga, we call this pose Gomukhasana. In yin, they call it shoelace. So here's a nice deep stretch, right? If we're not taking it in a yin context, I really feel it in the outsides of my legs, my gluteus medius. For some of us, it's really difficult, right? The adduction of this pose. Then maybe, you want to just lift this right knee up a bit. And that might help you get into the pose as well. We're going to be here for about 5 more breaths. If you'd like to fold forward, yogis, do that. So since this is really not a yin-based practice and I want you to do a little deeper stretch, I want you to roll everything in towards the midline and squeeze the knees towards the center. So eventually one day you'll stack your knees on top of each other. But I really want you to feel the sensation of the muscles on the sides of the legs pulling in towards the midline, and also the inner thighs squeezing in towards the midline as our spine lengthens. Suck your belly into your spine and take another breath. Gently, yogis, inhale, come up. Place your hands behind you and just hinge at the hips and take a breath here. Take your right leg behind you, and then we're going to come into swan or pigeon on the left side. So feeling that expansion on the top of the right leg, right, we're going to squeeze everything in towards the midline, using the muscles to do that. Roll everything in towards the midline for Ekapada, Raja Kapotasana. Fold forward. And then they call this sleeping swan. Keep on bringing knees towards the midline, yogis. Take a couple more breaths here. Gently come up onto your hands, yogis, and really squeeze everything again towards the midline as you lift your chest up. Tucking your back toes underneath you, just sliding that left leg back. Slide onto your belly, yogis. And bring your forearms onto the mat. Press feet down. Come into a sphinx. Relax your head. So the target is the lower back here. We're going to be here just for a couple of breaths. One more deep breath here. And then gently lower yourself down, tucking your toes underneath you, and then pressing yourself into a tabletop. Cat-cow. Find a nice long tabletop, bringing the left knee over the right, coming into your shoelace, sitting down onto the sits bones. Remember your options to extend the bottom leg if you need to. Really squeezing everything towards the midline. Making this as active as you can. If you need a block, remember, underneath the knees or in between your knees, do that. Sit on a block if you need to. Take another breath. So now this pose is an amazing pose for sciatica. Or piriformis syndrome. So fold forward if that's in your lexicon. You don't have to do it if you don't need to or it's not accessible to you. Squeezing everything towards the midline. Really sensing the stretch on the outside of the legs, also at the back of the body. Take 3 more breaths. And then come up, yogis, placing hands behind you, hinging back at the hip, right? We're going to take that left leg back and extend the left leg back behind you, bringing the right knee forward for your right side pigeon. Take a moment. Square everything off here, yogis, bringing knees in towards the midline. So if you notice that I did that on purpose, right? So my left hip is rolled out a bit. So I want to really square it off and squeeze both knees towards the midline as I lift up. This is a very active pose. And once I get into this spot, if it's accessible to me, I'm going to roll forward. If you need a block, it goes underneath your right hip. Squeezing everything towards the midline. Three more breaths here. And gently come up onto your hands, yogis, still rolling everything towards the midline. Tuck the back toes underneath you and just slide that right knee back. Lower yourself down by bending the elbows onto your belly. Come this time into a cobra by tenting the fingers, pressing the feet down. Inhale, come up for this variation. Elbows come to the side. And then lower back down. And then do that again. Inhale, come up. Exhale, lower. One more time. Inhale, come up. Exhale, lower. And tuck your toes underneath your yogis. And then press yourself back up into that tabletop. And breathe. Tuck your toes underneath you and lift your hips up for down dog. Lifting up in your belly and squeezing the pelvic floor. Walking your hands to the back of your mat. Bending your knees as much as you need to, right? So you got to rock forward towards the front part of your feet or to the balls of your feet. Let your belly touch your quads. Grabbing a hold of your big toes, but first open up your feet hip distance. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold for Padangustasana. Take a couple more breaths here. Then release the bind and then place your hands underneath your feet for Padahastasana. Exhale, fold forward. Gently feeling the backs of your legs, stretching yogis, engaging your quadriceps, sucking belly in and lengthening the spine. Release the bind and start to walk back to your down dog. Take a moment here. Raise that right leg up for a three-legged dog. Pressing hands down, and then lower that right leg back down. Sweep the left leg up. And lower that down. Look in between your hands, yogis, and take a walk to the front of your mat. Lengthen your spine on the inhale and exhale, fold. Root to rise. Come all the way to standing. Bring your hands to heart center. Take a breath here. Inhale, arms up, palms touch. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, half lift. Ardha Uttanasana, plant your palms and walk back into a plank or come into tabletop. Lift your chin, bend your knees, or come halfway down to Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, up dog or cobra. Exhale, down dog. Bring your right foot in between your hands and spin to the left. And take a moment. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Bring your right foot to meet the left foot at the left side of your mat. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. And then root to rise. Come all the way to standing. Hands to heart center, Samastitihi. Take a breath, yogis. Hands to your hips, open up to the right. Turn your right toes to the right and turn your left toes in slightly so your heels are in line with each other. Arms out to the side for triangle, Utthita Trikonasana. Use a block, use a chair, use the wall. Use whatever you need to. Bend the front knee if you have hyperextended knees, but bring the left hip point forward. Arms are straight, legs are as straight as possible, engaging the quads. Take a moment. If your neck bothers you, look down at the ground. Inhale, press feet up. Turning right toes in, left toes out. Extend the left arm to the left and reach down. Inhale, come into your triangle. And keep breathing, yogis. Bringing the right hip point forward. And take another moment. Press feet down. Inhale, come up. Bring all 10 toes forward. Hands on your hips. Root to rise. Press hips forward, turn right toes out, turn left toes in, bring the right heel in front of your left arch. Sit and find your warrior two. Reach your right arm to the right and place the right hand on the floor or in front or behind you on a block if you need to. Coming into Utthita Parsva Konasana. Bringing that right side of the rib cage forward, spinning your heart open. If you can't look inside your palm, look down at the ground, pressing your right knee against your right bicep. Take a moment. Press feet down, inhale, come up, root to rise. Hands to hips, all 10 toes facing the left. Press hips forward, get yourself together, turn the left toes out, bring the left heel in front of the right arch. Find your warrior two on the left side. Reach to the left for Utthita Parsva Konasana. You know, I really don't like this modification, but if you're going to use it, you're going to press away as you reach the arm over the head. But if you want to do the floor, place hands behind the foot or in front of the foot. But we still need to use this Bhujapidasana, right? So I want to press my left knee inside the arm of the left side as I reach my right arm over the ear. Feel the outside of the right foot on the ground. Press feet down. Inhale, come up for warrior two. Hands to hips, all 10 toes facing forward. Breathe. Press feet down. Lift up, yogis. Hinge at the hip for Prasarita A. Placing hands in between your feet. Trying to get forehead down to the ground. Any amount, yogis. You can use blocks. You could use the top of a chair. You could place your hands on the wall. Whatever you're doing. Just do it. Take another breath. Hands to the ground, inhale, half lift. Hands to hips, come up all the way. Take a breath. Interlace your fingers behind you for Prasarita C. Don't let your legs get away from you. Squeeze palms together if possible. If not, grab a strap. Lift your chest up and then hinge at the hips. And then release that, bringing hands to hips. Come up all the way to standing and breathe. Take a moment, yogis. Bend the knees and come to the center of your mat. So we're facing the front of your mat. And take a breath. Shifting your weight towards your left leg, I want you to just pick up your right knee into your chest. Really ground yourself into the left leg. You could stay here if you need to. But if you want to move on, place your left hand to your hip and grab a hold of your right big toe. Uttita Padangusthasana. Extend the right leg if possible to you. And just take a breath. We're just going forward today. Finding a balance. And then bend the knee and then lower that back down. Shifting your weight to the right foot, yogis. Pick up the left knee into your hands and pull it towards your chest or towards the armpit as you straighten the right leg, pressing the right foot down, lifting up through the top of your head. Root to rise. Press your hips forward. If you want to stay here, stay here. This is a lot of work. If you want to go on, just place your right hand to your right hip and grab a hold of your left big toes. Pull that left knee up towards the armpit. And if you're extending, extend. And breathe. Flexing the toes towards your face. You're flexing your foot at the ankle. Engaging the left quadricep, right quadricep, lift up. Everything comes towards the midline. Take another moment. And then release that. Breathe. Release the arms, yogis. Shift your weight again to the left leg and come into Ardha Baddha. If Ardha Baddha is not possible for you because it hurts your knees or it's not an accessible pose right now, come into tree. Now there's different variations of tree that you could also take. You could take kickstand. You could take shin stand. Never place your foot on the inside of your knee. Hold on to the wall if you need to, or bring your foot inside the inner thigh. Either of those options are perfect, right? If you're coming into Ardha Baddha and you want to hold on to your foot, perfect. Wherever you are, I want you to lift up from the opposite side, which is your left. Get your hips square in one line. Press your hips forward and lift your chest up. And take another breath. And then release the pose wherever you are. Let's do the other side, yogis. Remember your options for tree. You have this kickstand, you have shin stand, and then we have this tree or Vrikshasana. If you want to go on, right, if you want to try Ardha Baddha, we're placing the left foot on top of the right quadricep and we're lifting up. And take a breath, yogis. Either of those variations are perfect because you are. Press hips forward, yogis. Bring everything towards the midline. Take another breath. And then release that. Arms come up over your head, yogis. And we're going to exhale, we're folding forward. Inhale, half lift, and just palm your mat and come into a high plank. Shift your weight forward and press away from the ground. Lift your hips up, yogis. Finding your down dog. We're going to spin the left foot to the left. We're going to look in between our hands and step in between our hands with our right foot. So my right knee is bent. I'm going to press my palms together as I reach up for warrior one. I'm going to bring my hands to heart center, move my right foot in a little bit, and then open up for warrior two. Take another moment. Straightening out the front leg, all 10 toes facing the left side. Turn the left foot to the right. And keep that right foot there. Maybe bring it in a tiny as I bend the front knee and come into that warrior one. Bringing hands to heart center, moving that left foot in a little bit towards the left so the heel is in front of the back arch. And then I come into warrior two. Hands to hips, yogis, all 10 toes facing the left side. Keep on pivoting to the right, bringing your hands down to the ground, coming into that plank position. And breathe. Coming into your down dog. Touch your knees to the ground, yogis. Bring your hands in a tiny and then lift your knees back up off of the ground about 1/2 inch. Tap your knees down and then lift your knees up about 1/2 inch. And do that again. Tap knees down and lift up. And one more time, tap knees down and lift up. Lower knees down, yogis. Then sit back on your heels and extend your legs forward for Dandasana. So, sit bones on the ground, flexing toes towards you. Some people can lift their heels up off of the ground. Some people can't. So, hands behind you, fingertips facing your feet. Lift up in the pelvic floor, squeeze the belly, chest and chin chase each other, and press the back of your head back. Take another breath, engage the quads. And then release that. Get a strap if you need to. We're going into Paschimottanasana. Bend the knees if you need to as well. Arms come up over the head. Exhale, fold. Grab your big toes, place your hands on your shins. If you're flexy and you like to use a block, use a block. But whatever you do, make sure that your spine is nice and long. Inhale, exhale, fold. Nice and long spine, yogis. Engage your legs, lengthen the spine as much as you can. And then release that, yogis. Bring the right knee or the right foot inside the left quadricep or left thigh. Turn towards the long leg and then fold for Janu Shirshasana. So this pose, I want squeezing everything in towards the midline. I'll face you. Everything in towards the midline, yogis. Lengthening the spine, trying to get your chin out of your chest. Lengthening spine towards the top of your feet. Roll everything in towards the midline. Take another breath. And then release that. Come back into Dandasana as you press hands down into the floor. Chin, belly, pelvic floor are all engaged. Press back of the head back to the back. Engage and stretch and contract the quadriceps. Feeling the back of the legs stretching, and then release that. Take the right leg out, bring the left foot in. Roll everything towards the midline, squeezing this left foot inside the inner thigh. Going forward for Janu Shirshasana. Release that and gently come into your Dandasana again. So we're always engaging, always rooting to rise, always lifting up from the pelvic floor. Uddiyana Bandha, Mula Bandha, and Jalandhara Bandha, excuse me. Take a breath. And then come into Marichasana A, placing the right foot about right where your sits bone is. There's a space in between your feet and your thigh. You're going to place your left hand behind you. If you need a strap, it goes behind you. If you're not using a strap and you want a modification, this is what the modification looks like. Your right hand goes on the outside of your right foot. You're pressing arm and leg together. There's a reciprocal relationship. And then you want to grab a hold of your left foot with your left hand as you reach forward. This is a beautiful modification. If you're not taking the modification, you're going to reach your right hand behind you and grab a hold of your left wrist with your right hand. Lengthen the spine and exhale, fold. Now, if you could grab a strap, do that. You could grab your pants, do that. But grab something, yeah? Take another moment. And then release that. Good. So come through a nice long staff, and then bring your left foot up, placing right hand down. Remember, the strap goes behind you, or we could use the modification, and I'll do the modification again. There is a space in between your foot and your inner thigh, so don't close off this space. Yeah, that's a mistake we all make in the beginning. So place your left hand on the ground, press left arm against left leg, and grab a hold of your right foot. You could even use a strap to grab a hold of that right foot and pull, reach forward. If this modification is too easy for you, start to walk your left fingers behind you. If you could use a strap, grab it. Take this right hand behind your back and see if you can meet. So the right hand grabs the left wrist. Inhale, exhale, fold. Use a strap if you need to. Grab your pants, grab something, and lengthen the spine as we go forward. And then release the pose, yogis. Good. Take a moment and then release, and coming into that staff for a moment, yes? Good. Bringing right knee up again from our Chasana C. Yeah, so we are going to come into the same foot position, but this time my right hand goes behind me and my left arm comes up. So I could hook, or I could bind, or I could hug, whichever twist that you like, right? So twist and let your gaze go over the right shoulder, engage the left leg, and take another breath. And then release that. Let's do the other side. Bringing left knee up. There. And so the question I always get asked is this sits bone, so I'm working my left legs up. The sit bone in the beginning is up off of the ground. It's perfectly fine. So engage this right leg. We're going to place the left hand behind you, right? You could either hook, right, or hug, or just grab a hold of it, whichever you need to. Some people will bind. And then twist, looking over the left shoulder. And then release that. Head goes first, and then let the legs go forward. Take a breath here, yogis. Good. So now we're going to come into Thunderbolt, and you're facing the front. I'm just going to face the side so you could see it from the side view. You're still in the same exact seating position. Just place your feet on the ground and grab a hold of the backs of your knees. We're going to place our toes on the ground and squeeze the knees together. If you happen to have a chair in front of you, you could put your toes or feet on the chair so that your shins are parallel to the ceiling, right? So this is a beautiful, wonderful modification as well. But hold on. Navasana. This is actually Ardha Navasana, right? And so take a breath here, yogis. If you want to let go, let go. We have 5, 4, 3, 2, and then soles of the feet come together as we lift up for Baddha Konasana. So lengthen your spine, soles of your feet together, and breathe. So again, I'm going to face you, but stay in Baddha Konasana. Grab a hold of your feet. If you want to hinge forward at the hip, do that. But it starts from the sits bones, right? So I feel my sits bones grounding down, and I'm pressing my knees down, and I hinge at the hip. So some of us might not go very far, and that's fine. Just take a breath. Just feel that beautiful stretch on the inside of the legs as you really reach forward. Take another moment. Good. Come up wherever you are and extend the legs, yogis. First, bring your knees in, and then extend your legs out to the sides for Upavista Konasana. So fidget a little bit. If you want to sit on a bolster or a block, do that. We're coming into Upavista Konasana. So what I do want you to feel in this particular way I want to teach the pose today is we're going in every single direction. So I'm going to feel from my sits bones up to the top of my head, that energy. I'm also going to feel from my appendicular skeleton, from my shoulders all the way out through my fingers, from my hips all the way out through my feet. So I want you to start to feel all this, the axial skeleton working and the appendicular skeleton stretching. Yeah. So open out your arms to the side and really reach forward. Lift your chin slightly as you reach and start to lengthen. Yes. So I'm reaching out through my heels right now, but I'm going to grab my big toes as I keep on reaching my arms out to the sides. Now my toes go down to the ground. I'm still reaching through my head and my sits bones. I reach out to the sides through every single axial skeleton, appendicular skeleton point. Take another moment. And then come out the same way you went in, yogis. So reach out to the sides as you reach your head forward. Take a moment. Keep on pushing your sits bones down to the ground as you lift up. And take a breath. And then release the pose. And breathe. Good. Bringing those legs back in towards the midline gently. So we're going to lie back down on our spines, yogis. Grab a block if you want. You don't have to use it if you don't want to use it, but I'll show you what it looks like with a block. Lie back onto your spine. If you have a chair, right, you could put your feet on top of the chair. Here we're just coming into half a bridge with your block or book underneath your sacrum. Take 2 more breaths here, yogis. So if you're staying in this pose, it's wonderful. If you want to extend the legs, right, here's a little bit more extension. This is also wonderful. You can grab a hold of the pointy parts of the elbows over your head for this extension, right? But if you want more, you're going to place your hands on the ground and bring your feet into the floor and just come up into a full wheel, right? You can lift your heels up. Any option you want to take, yogis, take that. And take a couple of breaths wherever you are. If you're in full wheel, lower back down. If you're on a block, bring your knees up, feet on the ground. Lift your hips up to remove the block and lower your hips back down. Take a breath. Knees knocked together. Locate your strap, yogis, or if you don't need a strap, just use your hands to grab a hold of your right big toe. We're going to extend the right leg just like we did when we were standing. So if you need to keep this left knee bent, then that's what you're doing. But if you can extend the leg, extend your leg, right? So we're really feeling the back of the right leg stretching. Please start to think about engaging your quadriceps so that our knees can extend. Our quadriceps are knee extensors, right? And so we want to engage the quads so that our leg is as long as possible. Flexing at the ankle so my heel comes up towards the ceiling and my toes come towards my face. So I'm really pulling that femur bone into the socket. So you could place your left hand on your left quadricep and just feel the pull, the stretch, the length. And take another breath. Can you engage the top of the right leg, yogis, so that we can feel the length of the back of the leg? So when one part contracts, the other part is lengthening, right? Take another breath, yogis. Take your left hand on your hip and then just open out that right leg to the right. If you have no injuries in your hip for external rotation, you might want to place your foot on a block or whatever you got. It does not have to touch the ground. But so what I want you to do is, I don't want you to lift this left hip up off of the ground, right? I just want you to feel this external rotation and the stretch that it's offering us. Take another breath. And then gently bring your leg back up towards the center line. And then lower that leg down. Bringing your left knee, bend it, right? Do it, whatever you got to do. You need a strap, use it. If you use your hand, then use that. Extend the leg and feel the length. You could always keep this right knee bent. So this left femur bone is going into the socket as I engage my left leg as much as I can. I never want to force the knee and lock it back. You know, if you have hyperextension, that's what happens to us. And so if you do have hyperextension, it's okay. That's the way God made you. You just need to learn how to engage your quadriceps a little bit more, right? So engage the quads and don't just count on locking your knees back. You got to engage your legs. So I want you to feel the backs of your legs stretching. Engage that without putting a lot of undue pressure on the knee. If you feel pain in the joint, then micro bend your knee, of course. Flexing at the ankle, heel is going up towards the ceiling, toes are coming towards your face. Pull. That right hand acts as an anchor, right? And so keep on lengthening that left leg as much as you can. Take another moment and then open up to that left side. Bringing the leg back up towards the center. And then gently lowering that down. Good, yogis. Take a breath. Bring your feet onto the mat and open up your feet about the distance of your mat or the width of your mat. And let your knees drop to the left. And then place your left foot on top of your right knee if it's possible. If not, just keep your feet separate. Finding a nice little twist. Good, then release the foot if it's on your leg and then place your feet back onto the mat Then let your knees drop to the right. So your feet need to have a lot of space in between, yeah, to access this. Place the right foot on top of your left knee or the left quadricep if it's accessible. If not, just keep your feet or your knees separated in that windshield wiper. Good. Then if that foot is on top of the leg, just slide it off. Bring both of your feet back onto the mat and square yourself off. So fidget so that you're nice and long, making sure that your chin is nice and gently into the chest, right? That's not tucked at all, but you feel the back of your head onto the ground. Bring your knees into your chest, yogis. And then grab a hold of the outsides of your feet and come into happy baby. If you want to come into shoulder stand, please do so. Opening out the legs for a nice straddle stretch. Gently bringing the knees in again, taking a moment. Rolling your knees around a bit. And then lowering your feet down, lowering your knees down to the mat, yogis, and your legs down to the mat. Open out your feet, the distance of your mat, and prepare yourself for your Shavasana. Inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. And do that again. And then one more time. And let yourself settle into yourself, right? Just take the time, yogis. Don't worry about the time. I'll wake you up and I'll guide you through it. You could stay as long as you'd like. If you'd like to wake up with me, then do that. So just stay here for a moment, yogis, as we just settle into our own skin. Acknowledging and validating anything that we feel. This is unprecedented times, yogis. And things might come up, and it's okay. Allow yourself to fall into the silences. Allow yourself to rid yourself of any anxiety or anxious feelings. Acknowledge them, because it is how you feel. It's not a lie. And take deep breaths so that we can deepen into the spaces. And so we can release the deep layers of tension that we might be carrying. And every time we have a fearful thought, I want you to learn the mantra that God is not fear, God is love. And every time we fear, I want you to cultivate the feeling that God is near and never ever abandons you. So go to the thing that's good. Let yourself settle into yourself, yogis. Love never abandons us. If you'd like to wake up with me, do so by wiggling your fingers and your toes gently. If you'd like to stay, stay as long as you'd like. And gently start to roll to the side, right or left. God is not fear, God is love. And what does that mean for you? If you're sitting up, find a seat in your mat comfortably, tilting chin in towards your chest, and accessing that part of you that is that. Acknowledge the self that knows no fear, only knows love. Access that point, yogis, every day. Bringing hands to heart center. May peace, love, compassion, protection, and safety surround you, your family, all that you love, those that we don't know, and those that we don't like. May God protect us all, and may we see that we are that. God is not fear, God is love. Satnam and Namaste.